You wake up before the alarm, your heart already drumming a frantic rhythm against your ribs, even though the room is silent and your to-do list hasn't yet begun. You aren't just tired, you are wired, trapped in a state of perpetual readiness that feels less like living and more like surviving. It is a sensation millions recognize, that sharp, electric hum of anxiety that refuses to dim even when you crave stillness. Research suggests that nearly 80% of doctor visits are now linked to stress-related conditions, yet many of us treat this internal friction as a mandatory tax for existing in the modern world. We brush off the racing thoughts, the stubborn midsection weight, and the fragmented sleep as mere byproducts of a busy life. But what if these aren't just signs of a hectic schedule, but red flags from a body firing its emergency flares? Before we delve into the science behind these signals, please understand that this content is for informational purposes only and does not replace professional medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for personal health concerns, as your unique physiology deserves a clinical eye. The question is no longer whether we are stressed, but rather how much our internal chemistry has been permanently altered by it. We are living through a silent epidemic where the very hormone meant to save us, cortisol, has become our greatest antagonist. When your system stays stuck in overdrive, it doesn't just impact your mood, it fundamentally rewires your metabolism, your immune response, and your capacity for recovery. Medical professionals recommend that we pay closer attention to the subtle physiological shifts that precede a total burnout, yet we often overlook the quiet warnings until the volume becomes deafening. If you have felt as though your internal thermostat is broken, or that your body is holding on to tension like a physical armor you cannot shed, you are not imagining it. There is a physiological blueprint for why you feel this way, and more importantly, there is a way to recalibrate. Let us examine exactly what happens when your body's alarm system refuses to shut off, and why this hormonal imbalance might be the missing piece in your health puzzle. At the core of your vitality lies the HPA axis, a sophisticated, three-tiered communication network linking your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. Think of this system as your internal command center, constantly scanning the horizon for potential threats to your safety. When you encounter a sudden challenge, the hypothalamus signals the adrenals to flood your bloodstream with cortisol, a potent glucocorticoid designed to mobilize energy for immediate action. In a state of healthy homeostasis, this spike is transient. Once the danger passes, your biological feedback loop engages to dampen the signal and restore baseline calm. However, modern life rarely offers the luxury of a complete, all-clear signal. When stressors become relentless, this elegant mechanism loses its ability to self-regulate, keeping your internal engine redlining long after the initial crisis has faded. Research suggests that this persistent state of arousal fundamentally alters your cellular environment, shifting your body from a mode of growth and repair into a permanent posture of defense. Studies indicate that while cortisol is vital for blood sugar regulation and immune response, chronic elevation essentially forces your physiology to prioritize survival at the expense of long-term health. Instead of being a temporary fuel for performance, the hormone begins to act like a corrosive force, disrupting your sleep architecture, blunting your cognitive clarity, and systematically dismantling your metabolic health. You are essentially living in a house where the fire alarm has been ringing for months, exhausting the batteries and numbing your senses to the noise. Your cells, once sensitive and responsive, begin to lose their ability to interpret these signals, leading to a profound sense of burnout that settles deep within your tissues. The biological trade-off is clear: by remaining trapped in this high-alert state, your body sacrifices the subtle, restorative rhythms that keep you resilient. Recognizing this shift isn't just about feeling better, it is about reclaiming the biological autonomy that cortisol has hijacked. But what exactly does this internal siege look like when it manifests on the surface of your skin and the structure of your frame? At the core of your vitality lies the HPA axis, a sophisticated, three-tiered communication network linking your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. To understand the origin of this internal siege, we must look at the modern landscape we inhabit. Research suggests that our biology is currently caught in a collision between ancient survival mechanisms and the relentless pace of contemporary existence. When the sun sets, our bodies crave a quiet descent into repair. However, persistent blue light exposure and irregular schedules disrupt the circadian rhythm, forcing the adrenal glands to remain active long after they should have gone dormant. This nocturnal cortisol elevation prevents the deep, restorative sleep necessary for hormonal recalibration. Simultaneously, the fuel we provide our systems dictates the intensity of this chemical storm. Studies indicate that diets high in processed sugars and inflammatory fats trigger systemic spikes, keeping blood glucose levels volatile and demanding constant hormonal regulation. Beyond the plate, chronic emotional stress acts as a persistent alarm bell, signaling a threat that never actually arrives. Your nervous system, unable to distinguish between a looming professional deadline and a life-threatening predator, maintains a baseline of hypervigilance that wears down your physiological defenses over time. While these external factors are common, we must also acknowledge the rarer, more profound imbalances that demand clinical attention. Conditions such as Cushing's syndrome represent a complete systemic malfunction, where the body produces an overwhelming surplus of cortisol due to internal errors or external medication interference. In these instances, the hormonal output becomes detached from external stressors, creating a self-sustaining cycle of overproduction that alters the very structure of your frame. Whether driven by the invisible pressures of your calendar or the nuanced shifts within your endocrine system, the result is a body operating under a state of permanent mobilization. You are essentially burning through your own reserves to fund an emergency that isn't happening. By identifying these specific catalysts, the late-night screen time, the nutrient-poor habits, and the unyielding mental load, you begin to dismantle the architecture of your own exhaustion. But what happens when that silent, internal pressure finally forces its way through the barrier of your skin? When the internal pressure breaches the surface, your body stops whispering and starts shouting. But make no mistake, this is your biology under siege. If you notice stubborn weight gain, specifically around the abdomen, despite your best efforts at the gym, realize that your cortisol is busy shifting your metabolic gears, locking those fat stores away as a survival mechanism against a threat that isn't actually there. It is a biological paradox. Your body is starving for calm, yet it holds on to every ounce of energy, bracing for a phantom famine. You lie in the dark, body exhausted but mind electric, trapped in a state of hyperarousal. This isn't just insomnia, it is your endocrine system stuck in the on position, refusing to let you cross the threshold into true restoration. During the day, the veil descends. Ideas that were once sharp now feel like they are submerged in thick, gray water. This muscle weakness is the cost of your body cannibalizing its own tissues to keep the cortisol furnace burning. You are literally burning your foundation to power a fire that provides no warmth. Your body is a masterpiece of feedback, and these symptoms are not enemies, they are messengers. When you finally stop, breathe, and acknowledge the weight of this invisible load, you stop being a victim of your biology and begin to act as the architect of your own recovery. Healing begins the moment you decide that your peace is worth more than the productivity you are currently sacrificing for it. Please consult a doctor for health concerns, *. You have the power to turn the tide. We are here to help you navigate the path back to yourself.